In the glow of the screen we gather round.
Polly Pygmy had always been the eager beaver, the first to raise her hand, the one with the pep in her step, and a perma grin plastered on her face. She wanted to be picked for everything. From leading the morning announcements to being the star in school plays, Polly's hand shot up faster than a jack-in-the-box on a sugar rush. Her enthusiasm was like a tidal wave that swept over everyone, leaving no room for hesitation. But then the dreaded day came, the day Polly regretted ever wanting to be picked. It was a day that started like any other, with Polly's hand shooting up like a rocket, her smile as wide as a watermelon slice. The classroom buzzed with the usual chatter, but Polly's voice rang out clear, "Pick me, pick me!" Her teacher, Mrs. Wobblebottom, whose name alone made Polly giggle, had a mischievous twinkle in her eye. "All right, Polly," she said slowly, like a cat sneaking up on an unsuspecting mouse. "You will be our class representative for the annual spider handling contest." Polly's smile froze. Her eyes bulged like saucers, as if she'd just seen a ghost eating her homework. The classroom erupted in gasps and giggles, and Polly's heart pounded louder than a marching band on parade day. The contest was notorious. Legend had it that the spiders were as big as dinner plates, with eyes that glowed like tiny flashlights in the dark. Polly's knees turned to jelly, and her enthusiasm deflated like a punctured balloon. But there was no turning back now. She had to go through with it. On the day of the contest, Polly stood in the gymnasium, her hands clammy and her face pale as a marshmallow. The crowd roared, a sea of faces eager to see the brave souls who would dare to handle the eight-legged terrors. Polly gulped, her mouth drier than the Sahara Desert. She tried to muster her usual cheer, but her voice came out as a squeak. One by one, the contestants stepped forward. Polly watched in horror as the spiders were unveiled, each one hairier and creepier than the last. When it was her turn, she felt like she was walking the plank, her steps slow and hesitant. The spider handler handed her a spider, no, a monster. Its legs were long and spindly, and its body was the size of a small dog. Polly's eyes widened, and she could almost hear her heartbeat echoing in the vast gym. She reached out, her hand trembling more than a leaf in a hurricane. The spider's eyes seemed to bore into her soul. Just as she was about to touch the spider, it did the unexpected. It jumped. Polly let out a yelp that could wake the dead, and she darted across the gymnasium like a squirrel on a caffeine high. The crowd erupted in laughter, and Polly felt her cheeks burn hotter than the sun. Polly's hair stood on end, and her legs moved like they had minds of their own, carrying her away from the spider and into the safe arms of the audience. She looked back, her heart still racing, and saw the spider handler calmly capturing the runaway arachnid. From that day on, Polly Pygmy learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes it's okay not to be picked. And while she still loved to volunteer and be involved, she became a bit more selective about what she raised her hand for. After all, there were plenty of other adventures to be had, ones that didn't involve arachnid acrobatics. And so, with a newfound sense of caution, Polly continued her journey, her smile as radiant as ever, but her hand a little less hasty to shoot up.